tough to keep up with them. But there's strategy we can play. Valtteri did a great job, so as a team we can really work together today.
You mentioned strategy there. What sort of things are you going to be playing around with as a team, given that Valtteri is just behind?
Well, it's just if we can keep up with Max, for example, we can hopefully apply a little bit of pressure, but it's still going to be incredibly difficult. We don't know what's going to happen with safety cars and all these sorts of things, so we just need to keep ourselves in the game and push as hard as we can to race them.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Valtteri, P3 start today. How are you approaching today, and how far do you think you might be able to make up, given that this track is quite difficult with overtaking? Do you think you could get yourself up there in the mix for the victory?
Approaching today, of course, trying to make up places and trying to fight for the win of the race and for a good result for me and for the team. There will be opportunities. It's not only the lap one. I think strategy-wise also it can be anything today. So need to take the opportunities if they arrive, but otherwise play the long game.
And in terms of strategy, we just spoke to Lewis there. We've heard from Toto yesterday as well. Do you feel like you have quite a lot of room to play around with when it comes to strategy, or will it be a case of how close you can stay to Max first and foremost?
Obviously, starting tyres are pretty similar for everyone in the top, but still, I think it can be either one or two stop and a different compound. So I hope it's going to be interesting.
Thank you, Valtteri.
Thank you.
Daniel, it's your audience as well.
It's having a lot of fun. It's so cool to see this atmosphere. It's been a long time since we had this. It's crazy. So really nice to see that.
Can you do something from your position on the track? What's the plan?
Well, we're gonna try. Just try to attack and be smart. It's a long race. We never raced here, so we don't really know one stop, two stop. We'll see, but just happy to race with such a cool atmosphere, and hopefully the end result's a good one.
Okay. Lando.
Hello.
What's the plan for today for the Orange Army?
I already made a plan with Max. Max is going to back everyone up. He will defend for the whole race, and then I can overtake everyone. And we finish 1-2. That's my plan.
How was it on this track, qualifying? These banked corners, they were amazing, I think.
Yeah, it's probably one of the coolest tracks we go to, I think. So as a driver, it's such a cool experience. I would love to give you a go, you know. You can hop in my car one day if you want, and you can see what it's like. But it is so cool. I just hope we can have a good race today, and the fans enjoy it as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Good luck.
Antonio, absolutely incredible performance from you yesterday in qualifying at P7 today. How do you think you will fare when it comes to the race with the other cars and teams that are lining up around you, though?
Yeah, of course, yesterday was a great day. It was a great qualifying, but today is another day, and we'll see. I think for sure we start from P7 is a good position, but we'll see how it will be, to overtake, if it will be easy or not. But for sure the focus will be on the lap one, to try to stay there in P7, and then hopefully we can have a smooth strategy and keep the position.
Brilliant. And can we just have a few words in Italian about how you feel about the race today?
Sì, ieri è stata una giornata molto positiva, per oggi è un altro giorno, però sicuramente partiamo da una buona posizione. Sappiamo che è difficile sorpassare, quindi il focus sarà fare un buon primo giro, una buona partenza e cercare di rimanere lì.
Thank you, Antonio. Robert, a bit of a whirlwind for you getting the call to step in yesterday. How have you found the weekend so far?
Well, yeah, for sure unexpected to see you here, and yeah, yesterday morning it was a bit of shocking news, Kimi being positive, so I had to step up in the car. Of course, on this track, without having experience, it has not been easy, but yeah, keep it clean. Of course, today race it will be very, very difficult. It's a long time I haven't done any longer run than 5 laps in a row, so it's a challenging track, a lot of question of marks, but yeah, anyway, we will try to do our best, and happy to be here.
And what sort of strategy are you taking approaching the day, given the fact that you've had to step in so last minute?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there is only one strategy you can take. It's to play it safe, and this is what I tried to do yesterday. We have seen on this track it's very easy for mistakes. Also, the wind doesn't help. It's making our life more difficult. So every single small mistake you can pay high price, and we have seen it through Friday and Saturday. So yeah, keep it clean, keep it on the dark, on the black, and hopefully we'll finish the race.
Thank you very much. Good luck today.
Yuki, this is your first racing experience at Zandvoort. How do you like it so far?
The track is really nice. You know, the banking intense really last corner. I never driven like that amount of banking in my life. So the track I'm really enjoying. Couldn't put all together at the end qualifying, but yeah, so far I'm really enjoying this track.
When are you happy after the race?
Of course, points. You know, I always aim to get a point. So yeah, P10 or scoring points will be my target, and if I get it, I'll be happy.
Mate, first quali in Zandvoort, and you're immediately second row. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was an amazing quali for us yesterday, and yeah, what a track to drive on. I mean, it's been incredible since Friday and the first few laps here, and yeah, great for us as a team. I think we equaled our best qualifying in together in Formula One, so I'm really pleased with that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. One question or one answer in French to your French fans, please.
Non, mais j'espère qu'on va pouvoir faire une très belle course. On part dans une bonne position, donc vraiment excité de voir ce qu'on va pouvoir faire, et pourquoi pas un podium, ça serait une belle chose de le faire ici. Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Nikita, we know there were some frustrations yesterday within the team, but of course today is a new day. How are you approaching the race?
Well, today is a new day, of course, and you know, Formula One is a sport that is related to frustrations. So from my side, it's all clear. I'm not sure why I'm giving an interview on my own for the first time here, but it's clearly not all out. But yeah, it's sunshine. I've got an orange helmet to support the fans, and I'm just looking forward to get out there in the race.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nikita. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Mick, qualifying P19 yesterday. What are you expecting from the race today, especially given the limited overtaking opportunities?
Yeah, hopefully, you know, with a good start, we'll be able to get some positions, and obviously afterwards, I think it will be quite difficult. If we're in a good position, yeah, you know, we just have to try and hold them back as much as we can, and hopefully, yeah, we have some safety cars or whatever to bring us back to the pack, and hopefully some opportunities.
And can we have some words in German about how you're feeling about the race today and how you're approaching it?
Ja, ich freue mich natürlich aufs Rennen. Wird bestimmt spaßig. Wir haben natürlich eine Mega-Strecke hier. Es fühlt sich wirklich an wie ein Rollercoaster. Von daher freue ich mich drauf. Und natürlich auch die Fans sind mega hier. Und ja, ich glaube, dass wir uns einfach drauf freuen können heute.
Thank you, Mick. Good luck today.
Nicholas, that was a very heavy quali crash.
Yes.
How is everything with you and the car?
The car is in one piece now. It wasn't so much after the crash, and I'm in one piece still, thankfully. A little bit sore on my knee and my hip, but yeah, no issues to race. But yeah, I left the guys and girls a lot of work overnight, unfortunately. But
any penalties?
Yeah, we're going to be starting from the pit lane. We have to change the gearbox, and we opted to change some other like specification on the nose box just to try something different, because the difference between P19 and pit lane start at this track is maybe not that much of a difference.
How do you like the audience here in Holland?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's crazy that it's not even full capacity, and it seems like there's you know, so many people here. So yeah, it's a great atmosphere. Obviously, all for the McLaren cars. But
now for you guys as well. George, can you join in us, please? Yeah, no, stay there. Happy to be here, happy to race here.
Yeah, incredible place, you know, amazing circuit, amazing crowd. I think we need more like this in Formula One. The atmosphere that these Dutch guys bring is incredible, so huge respect to all of them.
Okay, result-wise, what can you do?
I guess we're fighting for the points. We've got to go for it. P11, we can choose the starting tyre. We're in a good position. We've scored points for the last 2 races in a row now. We're trying to make it 3. Thank you.
Sebastian, we saw the traffic issues affecting your session yesterday, starting P17, but how are you feeling about the race pace of the car, and do you think that you'll be able to make up a good number of positions even though the track is difficult?
Yeah, we hope so. I mean, we should be better than where we start. So it was a messy session yesterday, and we got caught out very early. It's not the easiest track to overtake, but let's see, maybe we can pull up something out of our sleeve and have a good race. For sure, I think the atmosphere is great, so I'm very much looking forward to it.
And can we have some words in German about how you'll be approaching today?
Ja, ich glaube, dass die meisten Fans natürlich aus Holland sind. Die Stimmung ist fantastisch, dafür vielen Dank. Aber für die paar, die auch aus Deutschland angereist sind, ja, hoffe ich, dass wir heute ein gutes Rennen haben. Danke für die Unterstützung und vor allem viel Spaß heute.
Thank you, Sebastian. Lance, you are starting outside of the points today, but you and the team have both said that points, you've got your eyes on the points finish. How do you think you'll be able to do that? Are you feeling confident in the car, given the cars in front of you as well?
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot can happen today. It's going to be important to get a good start. Overtaking is going to be challenging, but strategy, I think, is going to be very important here, so we'll see what we can do.
Given where you're starting and the fact that how close things are between all of the teams, how much of a big role are you expecting strategy to play? Do you think you could use that to your advantage at all?
Yeah, we'll see what we can do. I mean, degradation is going to be high. It's going to be important to pit at the right time, so we'll see what we can do with strategy.
Thank you, Lance.
Carlos, isn't it amazing, the orange crowd? Yeah, no, it's quite impressive, to be honest. They are doing a very good job on cheering Max along. It must be one of the best feelings, you know, to rest at home, and I wish we can put a good show for them, and yeah, it's an interesting race.
But you had an amazing qualifying. The wizards of your mechanics did an extremely good job.
Yeah, they were very impressive yesterday. I cannot thank them enough for what they did. It was very incredible, you know, to see them work, to see what they managed to do. And in the end, it allowed me to get out in quali, regain a bit my confidence, and put it in P6. That is a good starting position for today.
Okay. Spanish answer for your fans, please, Carlos.
If there are any. Sí, ha sido ayer fue una jornada difícil después del golpe que me di, pero la verdad que los mecánicos hicieron todo lo posible para salir y al final calificar sexto es una buena posición. Esperemos que la carrera sea divertida y podamos seguir remontando otro poquito.
Is it amazing? What? Whoa.
Yeah, it is amazing. I mean, it's great to see so many passionate people and obviously fans of Max. So hopefully we'll put them a good show to see today.
You said second row was possible.
Yeah, I also feel that way. I think fourth place was possible, but it's today that we score points. So I'm not sure they can hear me speaking with so much noise and cheering. But yeah, I mean, fourth place is possible today, so we'll give everything.
Okay, thank you very much. In French for your fans, please.
Ouais, j'espère une bonne course aujourd'hui. Hier, je pense que la 4e place était possible, mais bon, j'ai pas tout mis dans l'ordre. Mais bon, aujourd'hui, on va essayer de faire un bon départ et essayer de ramener la 4e place à la maison.
Good luck.
Both cars starting in the top 10 today. The
I'm feeling good, thank you very much. I mean, the atmosphere that you guys are putting on is awesome. I mean, so pleased to be able to come here to experience something like that, and to be on such a track. You know, it was pure pleasure yesterday to drive in qualifying, so we are glad that we are going to be able to put on a show for everybody. But yeah, it's been a solid qualifying for us, and we are going to try and transform that into points.
And could we have some words in French about the race today and where you think you might be able to get to?
Bien sûr, non, on a eu une super qualif hier, on a eu les 2 voitures dans le top 10, donc on était très contents avec ça. L'atmosphère est incroyable ici, donc on a hâte de mettre voilà, le show pour tout le monde en course, et on espère voilà, le transformer en point aujourd'hui.
Thank you, Esteban. Good luck. Fernando, you've already said how important the start will be today in making up positions. How many positions do you think realistically you could make up, and how will you be approaching the race in order to achieve that?
2 positions.
2?
Yes.
That's the answer?
Yes.
How much do you think that strategy might come into this as well? Do you think that other teams may get an advantage there?
Well, we'll see. I think it's an unknown race for everyone. You know, we never did more than 12 or 15 laps here, consecutive laps on Friday. And now we have to do 72. It's a long race. Tires, we don't have much info. It's a new circuit for everybody. So, you know, we are looking forward. The atmosphere is amazing with the fans here. So we must provide a good show today.
And can we just have some words in Spanish about the race today and how you're feeling with this atmosphere?
Bueno, va a ser una carrera seguramente un poco a lo desconocido. Nunca hemos dado más de 12 o 13 vueltas consecutivas con los neumáticos. Ahora tenemos que hacer 72. Así que bueno, habrá sorpresas. Intentaremos hacer una buena estrategia. Acabar en los puntos, ese es el objetivo, y bueno, disfrutar del ambiente. Tenemos a todos los fans aquí y va a ser una carrera emocionante en ese sentido. Les debemos un buen show.
Thank you, Fernando. Good luck today.
Sergio, what an experience. Welcome to Holland, but you didn't have the best qualifying. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, a big shame what happened yesterday. But I'm just so happy, you know, we've been getting so much support from these fans. The whole team is really pumped up. I really hope that Max can have a fantastic race, and also I can recover to minimize the damage as a team.
Okay. One word in Mexican to your fans.
Increíble el ambiente, el apoyo que hemos tenido aquí de parte de todos los holandeses, y bueno, esperemos que el día de hoy podamos minimizar el daño y poder tener una muy buena carrera.
Het is zover, je mag gaan racen. Je hebt het heel kalm opgebouwd en nu moet het gebeuren.
Kijk er natuurlijk enorm naar uit. Support wat ik hier dit weekend heb is natuurlijk ongekend. Dus ja, ik hoop dat we het natuurlijk mooi kunnen afsluiten. En dat betekent natuurlijk een overwinning.
Wat verwacht je? De koning is zelfs hier. Het moet toch straks een geweldig feest worden voor al die mensen hier? Als het lukt.
Ik ga mijn best doen.
Oké, dames en heren, Max stoppen! Oh shit. Max! 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 Engels nog even kort. Sorry. Is goed. Eén woordje. Even in het Engels, kort. Eén zin.
Wat wil je dat ik zeg? Wat wil je dat ik zeg?
Gewoon nou fantastisch, geweldig dat ik hier ben met een hele bende van 50.000 mensen.
It's of course amazing to have this support here at home. So yeah, I mean already the whole weekend has been crazy, and I've been smiling a lot in the car, even driving slowly through these corners. So yeah, I hope we can finish it off today with a win.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Holland, this is Joey Sanders. We hope we can deliver to you. This is what you want, this is what you expect. Here we go!
coach. Even in het Engels, kort. Eén zin.
Wat wil je dat ik zeg? Wat wil je dat ik zeg?
Gewoon nou fantastisch, geweldig dat ik hier ben met een hele bende van 65.000 mensen.
It's of course amazing to have this support here at home. So yeah, I mean already the whole weekend has been crazy, and I've been smiling a lot in the car, even driving slowly through these corners. So yeah, I hope we can finish it off today with a win.
कब तक ये खेल खेलेंगे बाबा?
Jordan, hoe is de sfeer? Ja, ongelooflijk! Dames en heren, Aston Martin. Let's roll. The British team van Alfa Romeo. Helaas heeft in die tijd een rijkomen. Maar wel Robert Kubica en Antonio Giovinazzi. En op diezelfde minuut staat ook het team van Haas met Mick Schumacher en Nicky. Zoveel mensen nog een keer die prachtige stand van links en rechts toe op de. Zijn er ook nog mensen die hebben dit gevraagd? Dit is van aanwezig met z'n allen weken af wat het niet doen. Meezingen, meefinishen, zitten op de stoel. Zandvoort, Sven Hammelman, klap die handen! En Antonio Giovinazzi. En op diezelfde minuut staat ook het team van Haas met Mick Schumacher en Nikita Mazepin. En op de tweede minuut natuurlijk de Red Bull met Sergio Perez en Max Verstappen.
Lewis, despite missing some of the practice session on Friday, you managed to put in an
Aston Martin. Let's roll. The British Alfa Romeo, helaas heeft hij niet rijkomen, maar wel de nummer Porsche en Antonio Giovinazzi. En op diezelfde minuut staat ook het team van Haas met Mick Schumacher en Nikita Mazepin. En op de tweede minuut natuurlijk de Red Bull met Sergio Perez en Max Verstappen.
go, ladies and gentlemen. 13,159 days since we last came to Zandvoort. The Dutch Grand Prix is back. This is round 13 of 22 in the Formula One season of 2021. There's a full house in here, and the home favourite is on pole. They've been making their way to the circuit throughout the morning. 26,000 fans plus travelling by bicycle, and less than 2% arriving by car. The train station has had to be extended just to cope with the fans here. They're the bike parks, and as I say, 13,159 days since Niki Lauda won here. His final F1 victory in the McLaren 1-2 that afternoon. McLaren here in orange, but it's the orange for Red Bull and the Max Verstappen supporters that are giving it a festival-type atmosphere around this 2.6-mile circuit. There are 14 corners, 4 to the left and 10 to the right, and only 215 metres from the start down to the breaking point at the new Tarzan corner, where Mario Andretti tried to get past James Hunt in 1977. He spun, Hunt crashed out, Andretti would retire on lap 14. This is Lauda and Prost reversing their positions from the 1984 Dutch Grand Prix. Niki Lauda would go on to win. McLaren with 2 successive 1-2 finishes. It is absolutely gorgeous here this afternoon. The sun is shining, no need for wet weather or intermediate tyres. So it's the C3, the C2 and the C1 tyres. They are the hardest in the Pirelli compound. We see them here on the banking around the final corner. Here's the starting grid then. 6 pole in 7 races for Max Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton alongside him for the 6th time this season. They share the front row. Valtteri Bottas for the 6th time this year starts 3rd on the grid, while Pierre Gasly matches his best qualifying of the season in 4th. 5th and 6th, it's an all-Ferrari 3rd row. Charles Leclerc ahead of his teammate Carlos Sainz, and then comes Antonio Giovinazzi. So 5th, 6th and 7th all-Ferrari power. Esteban Ocon out-qualifies Fernando Alonso. He's 8th, Alonso 9th, it's 7-6 in the head-to-head this season, and Daniel Ricciardo is the lead McLaren in 10th. George Russell crashed in qualifying, still managed to qualify 11th ahead of Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. Then comes Lando Norris, first time he hasn't reached Q3 this season. He's got Yuki Tsunoda for company. In 15th, it's Sebastian Vettel out in qualifying 1 for the first time since the opening round. He's got Robert Kubica alongside him. Kubica deputising for Kimi Raikkonen. Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin start 17th and 18th because it's a pit lane start for Nicholas Latifi and for Sergio Perez. Latifi crashed in qualifying. Perez has had his engine changed as well. It is a sea of colour. It is a wonderful atmosphere to start this race. The home crowd have got their man on pole, and for us, Jenson Button, we've got the front row we were looking for as well.
We do. It's not been the first time we've had this front row, but very, very excited to see these two up there. The best in the world right now, and they've had some tricky turn 1s in the past, so I'm really, really looking forward to this race getting underway.
Well, we got as far as Copse before they collided at Silverstone the last time they started together. Is anything that happened on that opening lap in Silverstone going through the minds of Verstappen or Hamilton at this moment?
It might be now, but as soon as those lights go out, everything else is forgotten. You know, Max has the crowd behind him, but once the lights go out, it's just purely yourself and the car and the people you're racing against. So no, I don't think they'll drive any differently than they did then.
But what is similar to Silverstone here is the fact that Max is in the faster car on the evidence of the times this weekend, and Hamilton knows it's going to be tricky to overtake if he doesn't do it quickly.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only real chance is lap 1. We do have DRS, so there's possibilities there. We don't really know what tyre degradation is going to be like. Max has said it's quite big, which is a surprise, but they do have 2 cars, Mercedes, at the front. Valtteri is just behind Lewis, which is going to really, really help their strategy running through the race today.
He needs a wingman today, does Lewis Hamilton. Valtteri Bottas is a man that's won here twice before in the F3 Masters event. He could go well as well. The top 10 all starting on the soft compound tyre. George Russell gets a free tyre choice. They've gone for mediums at Williams, medium for Lando Norris at McLaren, Robert Kubica at Alfa Romeo, and also for Nikita Mazepin, Nicholas Latifi, and Sergio Perez starting on the hard tyre. He's doing the Hail Mary today. He's going long.
He's got to try something different. He knows how quick that car is. His teammates are pole position. So, yes, I think Checo will be doing an unusual strategy today.
They've completely swapped the power units, and they've taken the hits as a result of that for Sergio Perez. They knew that was coming after the crash at turn 1 in Hungary a couple of races ago. There's the banking around turn 3. Plenty of lines to be taken through there. The high line seems to be the best line, and the predicted pit stop strategy today, if you can hang out to lap 25 to 30, you're in absolute prime position to stick on a hard or a medium. They still don't quite know, the teams.
They don't, and that's what's great. We haven't raced it. Well, none of these guys have ever raced here in an F1 car, so degradation, we don't know what it's going to be like, so that makes it super exciting. That turn 3, it's just lovely to watch the cars through there. It's a completely different line than you would think, the high line, but it works, and it looks so cool on TV.
Kind of slingshots you out, doesn't it? And back into it again. Don't count out Ferrari today. They've shown pace. Charles Leclerc, fastest in one of the practice sessions, and also in Q1. Carlos Sainz crashed in FP3. Brilliant qualifying to go and put it 6th on the grid. Giovinazzi, incredible qualifying to put it 7th on the grid, but they are the subplots to the main event, and they said don't bring any flares, but I don't think the crowd here got the memo on that. That is acrid smoke that is billowing into our commentary box and might just obscure the vision a bit for the drivers.
And this is before the race has started. Imagine, you know, if Max does win, you're not going to see anything.
Well, the king is here, but for this racetrack, there is only one king, and it's King Max. As far here at Zandvoort, the man with the most wins around this track in Formula 1, Jim Clark, with 4 previous victories. And there is Max Verstappen then making his way around the banking and onto his grid spot. And I suppose for the first time this weekend, Jensen, before the lights go out, experiencing a moment of calm.
Yes, kind of, but you're super nervous at this point. There's so much adrenaline pumping through your body, you know, and you've got the whole crowd. Look at the size of that grandstand, and they're all here for Max, which adds pressure. I know he's very good under pressure, but it is super pressure from the fans here. So he really does need to get a nice clean start off the line. When he does, he can breathe.
Nicholas Latifi coming out of George Russell's garage, because otherwise they'd have to come out, they'd push him back, and he'd come out again. It's so tight down in that pit lane, and watch out for that when we get to pit stops. It could be absolutely chaos down there. Toto Wolff looks on. You can barely see the final corner for the orange smoke. And where is Max Verstappen pointing that car? He's pointing it straight towards Lewis Hamilton.
He is. It's a strange lineup, actually. It's like a little snake on this side of the grid.
So, no surprises that Verstappen's first moment of priority here to cut off any threat of a fast-starting Lewis Hamilton. Let's see how this transpires then. 72 laps ahead of us here at Zandvoort for the return of the Dutch Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go. Pretty even start from the front two. Verstappen does move over to cut off Lewis Hamilton, then gets a roar of approval. It is 1, 2, 3. Hamilton in second. Verstappen leads Bottas third. Around the first corner we go. The 2 Ferraris might be swapping places as Carlos Sainz comes under a bit of pressure as well from his teammates. Charles Leclerc round the back in now, and that's the Alpine passer Antonio Giovinazzi and Fernando Alonso. Esteban Ocon has lost places, but it's a dream start for Max Verstappen as Giovinazzi gets on the grass and has to get his elbows out.
Oh, that was a very simple off the line for the front two, but there's so much action now from turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, and through the sweeping right-hander.
Alonso ahead then of Esteban Ocon. Daniel Ricciardo comes next. George Russell stuck in the middle of that scrap as well. Out in front, Max Verstappen leads from Hamilton, Bottas, Gasly, Leclerc and Sainz. Alonso up into 7th place. As I mentioned, there's Lando Norris trying to go around the outside of Sebastian Vettel at turn 10, where Vettel went off in practice. Meanwhile, let's go to the end of that straight, through the chicane and into the grandstand section. Max Verstappen gets the roar of the crowd as he leads the way. Ocon very close to his teammate Fernando Alonso. Sebastian Vettel might be in a position to try and get past the car in front, which is George Russell, but that straight just isn't quite long enough for him. And Verstappen leads them over the line. His gap, 1.7 seconds. We haven't got DRS until the end of lap 2. He's already out of any potential threat as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, massive lead after 1 lap. Even after turn 2, he had a big lead on Lewis. But there's a lot of fighting going on in the field. And the reason is they just have to make it work now when the tyres are cold. There's slight differences in the tyre warm-up with these cars. And then it will calm down a little bit. But great to see the fighting. This turn 3, even though there's no overtaking manoeuvres, it's so nice to see the different lines through there.
They say it's a bit like Monaco. It could be a procession, but it's a lot higher speed. The Monaco, and I haven't seen any boats since we turned right to come off the beach road first thing this morning. And Nikita Mazepin has got past his teammate Mick Schumacher and up into 17th place. Sergio Perez is ahead of Nicholas Latifi in 19th. Giovinazzi's lost 3 places. He's down in 10th at the moment. Alonso a big gainer at the start, but Verstappen doing what he needed to do and now stretching that lead.
Ricciardo is smoking and dropping oil.
And there was a bit of a theory that Ricciardo was showing signs of smoke coming out of his car. There it goes again. On his lap to the grid is Ricciardo suffering from a few technical issues there. That doesn't look pretty.
It does, and it's when he's coming on power as well. So, no, if there's oil coming out of that, it's definitely not positive. Sometimes you do work in a little bit of overfill and a bit of smoke, but not an extreme amount of oil. So, yeah, for George to be saying that, yeah, I don't think that's going to be lasting too much longer.
He's the man that would be in prime position to tell us if there is a bit of oil coming out, but what you don't want is too much oil dropped on the track, and it starts to get a bit slippy, because then you see cars spinning off as round turn 3 we go, and that high line once again very much in evidence as Lando Norris tries to chase down Lance Stroll, and it's settle in and be patient after the start of this race.
Yeah, it's a very straightforward start for the first two. Valtteri, not such a good start. It's been quite a regular thing for him of late, but then a little bit of a lock-up from Pierre Gasly. It looks like the Ferrari's going to be able to get him on the exit, but they just can't as he gets a good exit from turn 1 from Tarzan. Into turn 3, really exciting with the Ferraris down low, trying a different line, and then Fernando around the outside. I don't know how he does it. He is so good at these lap 1. And again, he's just able to pick that beautiful line and make the difference.
Tell you what, Fernando almost got collected by George Russell before he took that high line as well. We're on board with Antonio Giovinazzi now, who lost places on that opening lap as he sees the Alpine coming right into his field, and we had to take a step back from our monitor there because that was almost a big collision.
Yeah, it was a little bit naughty by Sainz, I think, pushing him onto the grass there, and then Fernando coming through and having a wobble on the bump with cold tyres was a little bit sketchy, but a little touch, but I don't think it would have done any damage to his front wing.
It's a lot calmer off board than on board at the start of this particular race. Daniel Ricciardo puffing bits of smoke from the exhaust of his McLaren in 9th place currently, out of the lead, 2.1 seconds the advantage for Max Verstappen, and for the first time this afternoon as Esteban Ocon chases down his teammate Fernando Alonso. We can go to Sky Race Control with Corinne Chandler.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie. I've been listening into Daniel Ricciardo on the radio. They've given him a bunch of instructions in terms of driver default, which basically means changing some of the sensors, maybe failing and shutting down some of the sensors, but they don't seem to think it's a car stopper. They've asked him to carry on. They said, good start, good job, keep going.
Control, Alt, Delete, and then press a few more buttons for Daniel Ricciardo at the moment. DRS is now enabled. Trouble for Lewis Hamilton is he needs at least a second and a bit to try and get within DRS range, and what Mercedes can't afford to happen is Verstappen dance off into the distance and cut out any threat of the undercut by the time we get to the pit stops.
Yeah, they need every option possible on the pit stop, maybe an undercut with Valtteri to make Max jump early or too early, but if Max has a 10-second lead, it all goes out the window.
And that was the message I was getting when I was talking through about Mercedes today. Is once again Alonso takes the high line, Esteban Ocon tries the undercut around the banking, and goes the low line and almost a low point with both Alpines taking each other out.
The only way it can work is if you're super close to the car in front on entry and you throw it down the inside and you cut them off on the exit, because
struggle to keep this pace.
On lap 5, he's worried about the tyres already.
Yeah, we've heard that before. He finds some pace.
Some of it might be mind games, but we will have to wait and see. But this track is really tough on tyres because you're fully loaded on that left front for a very long period of time with very high G.
And because we had long interruptions in FP1 and FP2 for red flags, teams just didn't get the running in that they would have desired to try and establish just how long these tyres can go for. So everything is theory at the moment whilst we see the practice out on the track. And this is Esteban Ocon, cheeky, committed, bold. How how squirrely did Alonso look coming out that turn.
But he wasn't able to cut him off at the exit, so Fernando, with that wide line, is able to get a much better exit and possible for Ocon to get past.
You remember back-to-back at the restart, Fernando Alonso picked up 4 places in 2 laps. He was trying something similar here. He was off-roading at times. Did he touch there?
A little bit,
yeah.
And it's unsettled Ocon a little bit. But this is the weird one. Every lap in practice, they've done the high line. And then suddenly in the race, they've decided that the low line is the better line. It doesn't really make sense.
It certainly doesn't, but what was the paddock talk? Ted Kravitz, that the first driver to nail turn 3 with the right line was Fernando Alonso this week.
Yeah, and he certainly could have done, although Ocon has been quicker and has got eventually past. The line from McLaren, look, you ready?
Fernando is extremely slow in front.
Ocon's much quicker. He is much quicker. It's only a matter of time before he gets past. We'll see whether he manages to line from McLaren. We know smoking's bad for you, but the car has stopped smoking. And from McLaren, they say there's no issue with Daniel Ricciardo's car. Okay, so whatever he did, Bruno's talking about on the steering wheel, has worked. And a quick one, Mick Schumacher, you saw him in the pit stop, must have taken about 30 seconds to change the front nose. He's come together, he came together with somebody who has rejoined Butler.
Thanks ever so much, Ted. Who makes the call on that Alpine pit wall if they are going to employ team orders? It's Sergio Perez. That's a huge lock-up going into Tarzan. That's not going to do the hard tyres any favours.
He's probably not really working them that much, because it is a super hard tyre. It's the hardest tyre that we actually have in Formula 1 this year. So, yeah, you can see the flat spot there. But that radio call from Ocon would have been... He's not actually that much quicker, but please let me past. I think I can do a better job.
It does show you just how difficult it is to overtake here at Zandvoort. Sergio Perez is struggling to get past Nikita Mazepin in the Haas. We've got the Red Bull, which is the fastest car this weekend, struggling to get past the slowest car this weekend and locking up as a result of it. Out in front, 3 seconds the gap. Verstappen over Hamilton. Let's go to Sky Race Control. Once again, come on. Valtteri Bottas first.
So just play the long game.
Patience, Valtteri. Patience. Coming to you.
Well, interestingly, they've been telling Max Verstappen on the radio that Valtteri is now 6 seconds behind. So they effectively tell him, look, your race is really only with Lewis. In terms of the time management, we heard Lewis there talking about his tyres. They've told him to manage the tyres a bit more, which is basically don't load it as hard. Through this corner, probably watching turn 7, it's saying Verstappen is taking it easier through those double rights, and it's allowing his tyres to relax a little bit. Gianpaolo Lambesi, Max Verstappen's engineer, meanwhile, has been on the radio saying everything looks good exactly as we saw in FP2. Well, we must remember, of course, Lewis Hamilton didn't do FP2 with that engine issue. And this, I think, is coming into play here. Verstappen's got the experience on long runs, and Lewis Hamilton doesn't.
Well, he did actually have a long run in FP3, though, on the soft tyre. But you're talking about the long right-handers there, the double long right-hander. It was perfect because we actually could listen to Max Verstappen through those 2 corners, and he's so far off the throttle pedal. But normally, through the first one at least, you're pretty much flat. It's a tiny little lift and back on. But today, he is cruising it through those 2 because those are the ones that really punish that front left.
8 of the first 10 Dutch Grand Prix here at Zandvoort were led from start to finish between 1952 and 1964. We're on lap 9 at the moment and leading from lights out to this moment is Max Verstappen, looking very cool and very calm and very composed, but I'm sure it's a very different matter in the cockpit as Ferrari say, let's go to plan B. Now, is that a shorter first stint, I wonder? Try and gain some clear air, some track position to bang in some quicker lap times.
I mean, we can guess all we like, but we'll see soon. But this is the dream scenario for Max. He's got a nice little gap on Lewis, and it means he can look after his tyres. Because, as you said, they've had such a short amount of time on this track to actually have long runs. They don't really know where the degradation is going to go, but Lewis might be holding back equally.
Here's really interesting. Sergio Perez is pitting, no doubt because of those flat spots that we saw on the hard compound tyre. But he's coming out onto the track now, just as Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton are making their way, as you can see, around the final corner. So I wonder how long before Max Verstappen has a chance to lap his teammate, who then might be in a very good position to just hold up Lewis Hamilton a touch and play the team game.
They don't do that, do they? Teams in F1?
I'm sure they they might be thinking about it, albeit accidental because of those flat spots. 1,000 race laps left for Max Verstappen, 23 years old, and he has reached 1,000 laps led in his Formula One career. The only Dutchman ever to lead a Formula One Grand Prix as we head to Karun Chandon.
So they think Lewis Hamilton switching to a two-stop crop. He's done the fastest lap. They've told him.
Okay, Checo, vibrations are too high. Get to pit. So that's a long way to go. Still points to be had.
That's completely ruined his race on a hard time. They've told Lewis target a -7. So as Jensen knows, that means from the plan we're going to pit 7 laps earlier. Look at him, the car's squirming around. The body language, the attitude of the car tells me that is a guy who's taking everything out of the tyres. Is going to pit early. Are they switching to a two-stop? Red Bull start to think so. They've just told Max, we think Lewis is switching to a two-stop.
So.
Okay, Max, Hamilton potentially switching into a two-stop. Looks like he's been given the hurry up. Last lap of 14.7. Gap at 2.8.
So what does Max Verstappen do now? Does he respond by pushing and going for a two-stop himself? Or does he think, I'm going to play my own game?
This is such a tricky one because I would always follow what Lewis is doing because he's the guy who's fighting for the championship. But if they both do a two-stop and Valtteri does a one, they have to overtake Valtteri. So that's the tricky one for Max. But Max has the pace, so it'll be interesting to see. But Lewis, this is the difference when you can actually push an F1 car on these tyres, how much quicker you can go. They really do have to back it up to do a one-stop around here, which makes it quite interesting.
Verstappen's responded by going a tenth of a second quicker on the last lap after Hamilton has set the fastest lap on the previous lap. But this is what we talk about quite often, Jensen, in that when you've got two cars from one team up against one car from the championship rivals, you've got so many more strategic options available to you as in comes Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin and a 2.3 second stop, which is not bad at all. A lot of practice has been going on in the pit lane, and that's a fairly rapid stop, given that we're expecting pit stops to be a couple of tenths of a second slower after the new directive to slow pit stops down that was brought in at Spa but never used in the rain there.
Exactly. Sergio Perez fastest lap of the race on a medium tyre. With Lewis, I don't think we're going to see him pitting anytime soon because if he does, he's going to drop in behind, I mean, Leclerc is one thing, but also going to drop in behind Gasly, which is a big no-no, I think, for the Mercedes car.
I think what they're looking for in about 7 laps' time, potentially, as we're on board with Lance Stroll, try and slot into a gap behind Charles Leclerc if they can, or behind Carlos Sainz if they can, and run the race from there.
Vettel has just pitted. He was 2 cars behind us.
Yeah, you'll be able to go miles faster, like 3 seconds, 2 seconds quicker, cleaner than this.
And there's not much space on this track, Jensen, but if you can find it, Lando Norris there saying that the benefits are enormous.
Yeah, being clear makes a big difference around here, especially because they're not in the Williams, which is definitely not on the pace of the McLaren on a long run anyway. So yeah, he is right, but the problem is you pit. You come out in traffic, nobody's overtaken yet on the track, or in practice even, so they don't really know how that strategy is going to work.
Yeah, the one guy that got closest was Esteban Ocon, maybe even Sergio Perez on Nikita Mazepin, but no overtakes doing so far. Ted, down to you.
I can hear some wheel guns being practiced in the pit lane, but it's so early for a pit stop. We'll see what Vettel makes of it. Maybe he had a cause to come in so soon, but yeah, they wanted to get to at least lap 25 on these tyres, and maybe more on the ones that Lando Norris is on, but still he can't get past Lance Stroll, as you can see. Alonso, the old fox, has been told by his team, look, Esteban behind, your teammate is quicker. He says, oh, well, I could go quicker. I'm just trying to protect my tyres, not getting too close to Carlos Sainz ahead. See, he thought that one through, hasn't he?
He might have used it a couple of times in his career before. As down the straights, we can see George Russell leading Lance Stroll, leading Lando Norris and Yuki Tsunoda, the car at the rear of this particular quartet. Decent little tussle emerging between George Russell and Lance Stroll. Takes me back to the days when those two were battling it out for the Formula 3 Euro Series title that Stroll won that particular year, but they were very close championship rivals that particular season.
Okay, Lando, so we still think plan B, be patient, our time will come.
This is the thing, because it is difficult to overtake, the cars in front can back them up, they can look after the tyres, the car behind is always going to damage his tyres more because of the dirty air going to produce more understeer maybe on the turn-in, and the rear end's not going to be as planted on exit. So, and also the driver behind's getting frustrated, which is the worst thing possible.
The thoughts, you see Nicholas Latifi on track. The car in front of him is Nikita Mazepin, who dives down the inside. So Latifi thinks, fine, I'll go the long way round. Faster speed, round the banking. There you go. That's how you overtake at Zandvoort. Nicholas Latifi.
That is a wonderful move, I must say. And that's how you do it at Zandvoort. It's round the outside most of the time on these back corners. That's what makes it such good racing.
You've got people singing away as round the outside now, and I think they're being joined by millions around the world, quite frankly. Any thoughts, by the way, that Sergio Perez might be in a position to hold up and Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton? Forget that. He's lapping pretty rapidly as it stands at 1:15.2, and that's on the par with Verstappen's pace out in front. And Verstappen and Hamilton both lapping within a tenth of a second of each other. So is this an indication that Verstappen might do 2-2, or Verstappen's just got enough pace that he can do that and still go for a one-stop?
Yeah, I think that the team are obviously feeding him all the information of what Lewis is doing. He's the only man of interest for Max right now. They'll be giving him the lap times, and he'll probably be going to those lap times. Whether that's going to be enough to stay on a one stop, because he is pushing those tyres harder, or whether, maybe he'll have to go to the two-stop like Lewis if Lewis is going two-stop. We still don't know.
Is that an easy thing to do? If you're told we want 1:15.0s, 1:14.9s, is it an easy thing for an experienced driver to drive to that time or not?
It is, because you have a plus-minus on the dash. Your best lap time of the race might have been a 14.5, and then +5 tenths is where you need to be when you cross that finish line. It updates through every corner of the lap, so you know exactly how close you are to your fastest lap time.
And then in the practice sessions, as you build up to the Grand Prix, you work out where you can push or ease back at certain corners.
Exactly, and if you're having to save fuel or look after the brakes, you would be lifting off early into the corners, but being more aggressive with the tyres on the exit to make up that time.
Karun, let's head over to you.
Yeah, Crofty, I think Mercedes have had a bit of a rethink on their plan here. They asked both Lewis and Valtteri to update the tyre switch, and I wonder if, having done a couple of laps at a higher pace and realised even when they went for it, they were only 2 or 3 tenths quicker than Max, maybe they're not quite quick enough to make a two-stop work. We'll have to say the gap, by the way, has now opened up for Hamilton to just about, maybe needs another lap to get out ahead of Gasly if he does want to pit. That is what you guys were talking about before. He does want to get stuck behind Gasly. He's about a lap away from clearing the AlphaTauri.
Yeah, if you look at the gap between Hamilton and Gasly, you're absolutely spot on. It has opened up nicely as Sergio Perez once again goes for a move on Nikita Mazepin. Into the chicane he goes, and he does make his way finally past the Haas and up into 17th place. Long afternoon ahead for Sergio Perez, but we've seen him come from last to first in the past. It's how he picked up his first Grand Prix win.
Yeah, and that was a lovely dummy, I would have said, into that chicane. Nicely placed down the inside, not the easiest place to overtake. The smallest mistake, a little lock up and you're through the gravel. So great move by him.
So, one stop, two stop, and Mercedes switched for a second time their intended strategy. Has it in any way affected the way Red Bull are running their race? As it stands at the moment, 3.5 seconds between Verstappen and Hamilton on lap 17, and we're watching the battle for 11th place, which is currently held by George Russell. Makes his way through turn 8 for his teammates. Nicholas Latifi went off in qualifying yesterday, one of 2 red flags brought out by both Williams drivers, crashing quite some speed during that qualifying session. On the fringes of the points here, George Russell, but it's a long afternoon ahead before we start thinking about some points in successive races for the Williams driver, who picked, of course, his first podium of this entire career at Williams last weekend. His first podium of his entire career, full stop, albeit in a race that wasn't really a race at start.
And we have menu dash position 6 when you can. And repeat, man. Dash position 6. Dash 6.
What's menu dash position 6? Lunch? Dinner? Not quite sure.
Probably not.
Lewis on the last summer, this first sector of the lap, and that is mostly long corners, so he is pushing. He's not cruising, so he is not taking it easy, let's say.
Certainly not. So positions gained and lost there at the start of this race.
Exactly, Valtteri. So at this pace, we're not going to interact with the leaders.
Alonso picking up places, as you would have seen. And that's quite a message to Valtteri Bottas. Thinly disguised message to say, Valtteri, put your foot down.
That really hurts as a driver. You know, you're on lap 18 of 72 and you've already been told you're not going to be fighting for the win. Yeah, it's a tough one, that, but his pace doesn't seem to be there. He's already 7 seconds behind his teammate, so almost half a second a lap slower, 4/10 a lap slower than Lewis. So it's not been best, but then he might be on a different strategy.
Well, he might, but he's not going to interact with the leaders, says the message, even with that strategy taken into account, which Mercedes, of course, would know. It's the sort of thing that rather justifies the expected decision to come within the next 7 days or so of George Russell going to Mercedes for next season.
Yeah, it does, and you know, Valtteri has had some fantastic moments in his career at Mercedes, some amazing pole positions and victories, but he just doesn't have the consistency of someone like Lewis. Not many people do.
Expect a raft of announcements in the next 7 days, including George Russell to Mercedes, which is the expected decision there. Valtteri Bottas to Alfa Romeo, and potentially in the next week or so, Alex Albon to Williams. That deal looking a little bit better now after Toto Wolff, and he admitted that himself, came out and said, I don't really want to go there if he's still got attachments to Red Bull. I wouldn't be too happy a Red Bull driver driving for one of our customer teams. Karun, to you.
Yeah, some really interesting radio conversations. Hamilton's getting a whole load of instructions, guys, from the pit wall about HPP engine settings. We see Perez up against Latifi in the DRS zone towards the chicane. Not quite going to get... Oh, yes, he does, actually, on the outside. Great move by Checo Perez, the DRS. But yeah, Hamilton getting lots of instructions there. But I think he's struggling to hear on the radio. All we hear from him is repeat. He's really struggling. Bottas, by the way, they asked him probably before you heard that radio message, what pace can you do? Can you get to a 15.1? And he just said, no, that's it. So, yeah, it's not looking great for him today.
No, not at all. Let's have a look at this once again, gents. Sergio Perez and Nicholas Latifi thought he had the upper hand going through turn 10. Latifi came back at him.
He did, and this is actually a really nice move as well. It's nicer to be on the outside here because you do have the clean track, no marbles, which you'll have on the inside. But it's a brave move, but he has to take brave moves with where he started the race, and obviously with that early pit stop. But Checo is great at this. He is great at fighting through the field. It's a shame he puts himself in that position.
Exactly.
A gap to Verstappen at 3.7. The last lap at 15.3.
Repeat, man, repeat. The Dutch fans making that much noise that Lewis Hamilton can't hear the team radio quite as well. In that particular part of the track, there aren't grandstands, but that would have been a delayed message. He might be going down the main straight, which is a very noisy place indeed this weekend, as Max Verstappen gets past the Haas of Nikita Mazepin. Lewis Hamilton has got a couple of cars now in between himself and the race leader and his championship rival, Mazepin and Sebastian Vettel, who have both come in for their first pit stop of this race. Perez has also pitted after flat spotting his tyres, and we're on board now with Sergio Perez. Robert Kubica is the car ahead of him. Kubica deputising Kimi Raikkonen, who tested positive for COVID. Kubica in his first race since Abu Dhabi 2019, and getting overtaken there by Sergio Perez, who's up into 15th, and in comes Lewis Hamilton for his first stop of the race. And I say first stop of the race because I don't expect those medium tyres to go between now and the end of 72 laps. So that decision to go to a two-stop strategy now seems to have been taken by Mercedes, and he's got clean air, making his way out inside line by the Paddock Club. Lewis Hamilton out onto the track, well ahead of Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, nice clear track in front of him, but you know he's chosen his direction now in this race. Here we come into the pit stop.
So tight, isn't it?
It's so tight, and it was reasonably slow pit stop. That front right was the issue.
Yeah. A little bit too slow. 3.6 second stop. He's probably lost a second there in the pit lane. Ted, to you.
Yeah, that was messy by Mercedes high standards. But if Hamilton couldn't have closed on Max Verstappen on his previous set of tyres, then well, they'll be looking for more performance on this yellow medium tyre. We have seen that, haven't we, Crossley? They did do one of the qualifying sessions. Aha! Max is going to react. That's all he has to do today, just cover Lewis.
I was going to ask the question, do they cover Lewis Hamilton and respond? And that's exactly what Red Bull are doing. And if you think Mercedes pit box is tight, well, it's even tighter for Max Verstappen. But in he comes, 3.6 seconds. Lewis Hamilton was stationary, 2.7 seconds. Max Verstappen was stationary. So Red Bull winning the pit stop battle on this occasion as well.
Yeah, they are, but still not such a quick pit stop for the Red Bull. Obviously, they're trying to keep calm, but it just shows you this tighter pit lane. It definitely is a little bit more stressful for the teams.
It is. I tell you what, they had to do that. They had to respond straight away if they were going to cover off Lewis Hamilton, because he went purple middle, purple final sector, and was about a second quicker through the middle part of the lap, Lewis Hamilton, on these fresher tyres, which are nicely warmed up, but you can just see Max Verstappen in the distance. He should be long enough clear, but I tell you what, that 0.9 of a second difference in the pit stops, how crucial could that be come the end of this race?
Yeah, very crucial. It's amazing actually how much he's caught him, because he's got those nice warm tyres, and obviously newer when he put them on than Max's tyres before he pitted. But the issue that Max has now, he's 10 seconds behind a Mercedes, Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah, it's a big gap, isn't it? Hamilton still pounding in those purple sectors. Valtteri Bottas leads from Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. We can bring in Christian Horner from the Red Bull pit wall. Christian, I'm assuming that was a no-brainer for you guys. If Lewis pitted, you had to cover him off.
Yeah, exactly that. So, you know, the guys got the car turned around. It's a tight entry into the pit box here as well. So, the most important thing was to keep track position for Lewis.
So far on the soft tyres, you had a distinct pace advantage to the Mercedes. Do you get worried now? Because sometimes the medium tyres interact differently with your cars, don't they?
Yeah, the cold compounds behave differently. So it's just a matter of obviously bringing the tyres in nice and easily, and they've probably got to go quite a long way. So, of course, they've got Valtteri ahead of us, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him.
Well, I think we know what they're going to do with him, correct?
They did a good job, Lewis. This is all part of the plan.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's going to be interesting. I think the two-stop looks a quicker race, so if they're doing that, that's obviously tactically, but the best thing we've got to do is pass them on the track.
Thanks, Christian. We'll be back with you in a little while. So pit stops from Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. As you can see, they now run second and third. The gap to Valtteri Bottas, there was 10 seconds, now down to about 8 seconds.
What do they think? You need 2.1 seconds pace advantage on the car in front to actually make a move. Well, he kind of has that right now.
Yes, he does. But it's where on the track he gets to Valtteri Bottas. If it's down the straight, then he's got that pace advantage. He can overtake into turn one. But I tell you what, from turn 3 onwards, there's not many overtaking spots till he gets to the chicane.
It's one of those things as well, isn't it? If you catch them right, and you can make the move straight away. But if you catch them a little bit wrong and you sit behind him for half a lap, that's you done. Then it's very, very difficult to overtake. So you get into that rhythm behind them. But also offline, there's a lot of marbles already. Only 24 laps in.
You don't want to be picking up marbles on your tyres, although Sergio Perez doesn't care much, because once again, at the chicane, he makes an overtaking move, this time on Yuki Tsunoda. Perez up to 14th off. He hadn't been knocked out in Q1 yesterday. What would Sergio Perez have been doing on this track?
Well, it's just wonderful to see the amount of overtaking moves that we're seeing from Checo. He's fully on it, which is really nice to see. If he's in the front, obviously he wouldn't be making those moves, because he wouldn't have the tyre advantage that he has now compared to his competitors.
Talking of tyre advantage, just to point out here that Mercedes do have an extra set of the medium tyres that they can use in this race. They used mediums, but they've got an extra set over Red Bull, who, if they are stuck will have to go soft or hard.
Yeah, I think they'd probably go soft. Well, we'll see how long the medium tyre goes for.
And last set was rear left limited, rear left, but as expected.
Powered by AWS, the battle forecast, striking distance on Valtteri Bottas in 3 laps for Max Verstappen. Overtake difficulty, it seems pretty easy according to that graphic, but we shall see as the Ferrari pit crew now get ready and get their hoses out of the way for Gasly to make his pit stop in this race, his first pit stop, and to go onto the medium compound tyres. It's lap 25 then of 72 here for the Dutch Grand Prix, and so far it's not been too bad for the home favourite Max Verstappen. He might be in second place at the moment, but he has a pace advantage over his championship rival Lewis Hamilton, about 2 seconds clear as it stands, with Valtteri Bottas leading this race because he hasn't come into the pits as yet. We're seeing a few more pit stops. Pierre Gasly has just come in after running a decent solid first stint, and he drops down into 7th. Sergio Perez, he flat spotted his tyres in the opening couple of laps, is starting to make his way back up through the field again, and tyre performance powered by AWM. This graphic, Jensen, showing why Valtteri Bottas says he's got vibrations.
Yeah, exactly. Look at the degradation on the left front and rear. I don't know if you heard the message, but to Lewis from Pete Boddington, his engineer, saying that the left rear is the limitation on the first set of tyres. On the softs, probably going to be very similar on the mediums, I'm thinking. Interestingly, after Ocon's comments earlier on that Fernando isn't fast, Fernando's pulled 6 seconds on him now.
That wily old fox, Ted Kravitz. Oh, hang on.
Yeah, the tyres are definitely dropping a bit more, but I guess they'll do a few laps.
Well, Mercedes wanting to do a few more laps and try and hold up Max Verstappen.
Yeah, sorry, Valtteri, if you weren't fast enough to get involved with the Max and Lewis show, we're going to have to put you on a one-stop and see what you can do. Lewis has great pace on these yellow tyres, isn't he, Croppy?
Yeah.
Really good pace on the medium tyres. So we've seen Pierre Gasly into the pits. That's given Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz an opportunity. They can only go longer now and try and overcut the AlphaTauri of Gasly. Try to go longer and do some good laps, but I think Gasly will have that covered. He's had great pace, Gasly, hasn't he? Looking good value for P4 eventually when the Ferraris cars ahead of him stop.
And that gap between Verstappen and Hamilton has now come down to 1.2 seconds on the last lap. Hamilton just behind Sebastian Vettel, now just ahead of Sebastian Vettel, maybe getting a bit of DRS to help him down the straights.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if Max is holding back a little bit, because the worst thing for Max is being stuck behind Valtteri, because it's definitely going to give Lewis more of an opportunity. So he might be playing a bit of a game here.
Well, now that the car directly behind him is Lewis Hamilton, if he is holding back, Hamilton's going to start the run of the dirty air covered by the Red Bull.
Exactly, yes. There's so many possibilities, and that's why we love this. There's so many options for the strategy, and possibly using Valtteri. But I'm not saying they are, but possibly. If they are, Max knows that, and he will be backing up Lewis a little bit because he doesn't want to get up behind Valtteri. He wants Valtteri's tyres to disappear.
Okay, so Bottas in free air, 15.8. 15.8. He is the car ahead. It's going to be absolutely critical to catch and pass if we can.
If we can. Does Max Verstappen? I'd love to hear the response from Max Verstappen. Does he then tell Gianpiero Lambiase, well, actually, I don't think I can catch him. I might be better off sitting where I am.
Yes, but he won't say that on the radio, I don't think.
That gives the game away.
Yeah. It's just an added stress again, when they had such pace coming into this weekend, Red Bull, and Max is lapping, qualifying, and the pace that he had at the start of the race, suddenly it's really stressful for him because he's up behind Lewis Hamilton, his main rival's teammate.
And that's why you see the feet, the toes twitching and tapping on the pit wall throughout this race, throughout week after week of Formula One racing. It's nervous, it's stressful for the team because there's nothing they can do to affect the way that the driver is driving out there, but it is a team sport and they want to help him as much as they can. That is Gianpiero Lambiase, Max Verstappen's race engineer, writing down some instructions there for the mechanics. Maybe at the pit crew for the pit stop, not quite sure, as Pierre position swapping all the time. Perez now behind Norris as people start to pit. Giovinazzi and Russell and Stroll, and I think Pierre Gasly. Alonso, comes George Russell right behind car number 99. Antonio Giovinazzi almost got him at the pit stop.
Yeah, that's the fight for P10 for that final point. So an important one.
So this is how Fernando Alonso got overtaken by Pierre Gasly, all the way around the outside once again on fresher tyres. Pierre Gasly, and he's got the grip out.
Yeah, he has.
has, but I mean, why don't we learn from this? Why don't we just run wider through the corners when we're the car in front? But it just feels wrong. It feels wrong to be taking a wide line to cover your line for the next corner.
So this is for the race win, so you're defending. I'll leave you to it.
Right, interesting, because his last comment was, you're not in the fight for the win.
But not necessarily the win for Valtteri Bottas. This is the race win for Verstappen or for Hamilton, or is it for Bottas? If he's going longer on a one-stop, do Mercedes think that could be the best way to run this race now? All will be revealed at the end of 72 laps, but I'll tell you what, Max Verstappen has caught Valtteri Bottas at a good time here with DRS usage down the main straight if he can make this move into turn 1. And he's going to be a bit too far back to make this move into turn 1, which could now see Max Verstappen getting held up a bit by Valtteri Bottas throughout the rest of this lap. Really, turn 1 is the big overtaking opportunity into the chicane in turn 11. Yeah, there's a chance there as well, but now Verstappen's going to be unsettled. He's going to be held up by that Mercedes car in front, struggling on his tyres, but going long for a one-stop race.
Yeah, and it's also tricky for Max because he doesn't want to push his tyres too hard to damage those rears. Lewis might be holding back and looking after his tyres for later in the race, whereas Max is pushing this hard in the dirty air behind the race leader Valtteri.
So the view from Valtteri Bottas's Mercedes, former winner here, the only man in consecutive years to win the F3 Masters at Zandvoort, up against the man who also has won in the junior formula here in the F3 Masters 2014 for Max Verstappen, and Valtteri Bottas now under big pressure.
He ran wide.
Red Bull.
He ran wide through the entry to the chicane there, which would have put him on the back foot. Look how close Max is now. Yeah. This is his opportunity.
But look how close Lewis is as well. Valtteri has done a sterling job there to try and hold up Max Verstappen. He's not going to hold him up any longer. Because with DRS, there he goes. And you can hear the roar from the Dutch Lions in the grandstands, but you can also see the marbles that are being flicked up into the air when he went offline. Now, going offline is Valtteri Bottas to let Lewis Hamilton through. And the upshot of the last 5 or so laps is a 3.5 second advantage for Max Verstappen over Lewis Hamilton is now down to just 7/10.
And the biggest issue here is he had to go offline to overtake Valtteri, so he got all those dirty marbles along the pit straight on his tyres, and it takes a few corners to get rid of that.
Well, we can see it once again coming off the banking. He's got the speed, he's got the grip, he's got the fresher tyres, but now he starts to flick up a lot of marbles. Don't really see it from that camera angle.
That's mega. Let's go.
That's a great message, isn't it? That's mega, let's go. But yeah, look at the fans as well, going crazy for that, as you would expect. But look at the marbles that are being flicked up in Lewis's face from Max in front on the inside line.
And Lewis Hamilton let by, past his teammate a lot easier than Max Verstappen had found it. So for about 2 laps, Valtteri held him up. That's the strategy Mercedes were able to make. However, Red Bull still have a pace advantage, and look at the gap now. It's over 1.5 seconds. So by the time they get to the next DRS zone, then there's nothing that Mercedes can do to use that DRS because he's too far clear. Bottas now finally comes in, and the hope is they'll get out ahead of Charles Leclerc, and they should easily get out ahead of Charles Leclerc, keeping Valtteri Bottas in 3rd place. The top 3 here have a distinct pace advantage to the rest.
Yeah, so even though he was left up for way too long, he's still going to come out 3rd, and if everything goes to plan, he'll still have a step on the podium. But it's a disappointing step on the podium for any driver.
The key now for Valtteri Bottas is he's back out of the race on the medium tyres. Can he go to the end of this race?
He's getting super lucky with traffic, man.
Verstappen and Hamilton, who we think do have to pit again.
Yeah, so he might have to do the move again on Valtteri.
Yeah.
So but to be fair, their pace is so much better, it seems, than Valtteri. But just going back to what we just saw on board there with Lewis through turn 2, that snap of oversteer on the exit, that's what caught Sainz out in practice yesterday morning in FP3. That was a bit of a moment, and you don't want to be doing that too often, and it's also going to damage that rear left, so he is struggling a little bit with that rear left.
Ted, let's head down to you.
The reason Hamilton is saying that Max has got lucky with traffic is that Hamilton, has not been lucky. When he came out from the pits, Crofty, he came out and Alonso actually got ahead of him, or was ahead of him, up into the safety line. So Alonso was in front.
2 seconds.
So don't need to kill the tires, but we need to close to his window.
Yeah, so Alonso exiting the pits actually squeezed Hamilton. So Hamilton did lose a bit of time with Alonso compared to, maybe that's what he's saying. Just quickly on Lando Norris, as you can see on your screen, P8. So that fight in front of him sorted itself out. Russell and Lance Stroll pitted at the same time, which was good for George. Not so great for Lance if he wants to get past the Williams, but it has now released Lando to show what he can do.
I'll tell you some George Russell news in a moment, Ted, as we actually watch him going around the outside. Robert Kubica into turn 1. The Williams special advisor next to me rather likes that particular move.
I like special advisor. It's actually senior advisor. Okay, I'll take special any day.
You were special to me. And we see Kubica being passed by Lance Stroll as well. The bad news for George Russell is that he's got a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So he might be ahead on the track at the moment of Lance Stroll, but he's got a 5-second penalty. Will either be added to his time at the end of this race, or will be added to the time before they can work on his car if he's coming into the pits again, as Fernando Alonso makes his way out of the pits. And I'm watching now to see where his teammate Esteban Ocon is. Ocon making his way around turn 1 and behind Fernando Alonso. There he is, just in the background. So both Alpines pitting, and Alonso still ahead of his teammate, which would be très frustrating for the Frenchman, I'm sure. Giovinazzi into the pits for a second time.
That's really early.
Yeah.
Very, very unusual strategy, but it's great to see so many overtaking moves around here. We didn't want to talk about it too much before the race, but it's not the easiest place to overtake. But there's been some really, really good moves around the outside, most of them, but yeah, great to see.
Don't want it to be impossible, but make it difficult. There's nothing wrong with that. Now here comes Charles Leclerc. Carlos Sainz turn 12 at the moment. Pierre Gasly makes his way around turn 1 and back into 4th place once more. And Leclerc comes out and have a nice, clean piece of track in front of him in which to get his foot down and try and close that gap.
It's always nice when you come out the pits and you've got that clean circuit, so you can bed your tyres in as you want. Just jumping over to Bottas, he's 23 seconds behind his teammate, 25 seconds behind Max, so he is still in play to be in front when Max stops again. So they could use him to hold up Max and give Lewis an opportunity.
Theory, a good race strategy, but I text from Salva. Sorry.
That was a really good idea as well.
So that was ruined from great grid positions to terrible racing for Albon. Unfortunately for Giovinazzi, had a puncture not too long after his first stop, and has now dropped down to 18th.
My CV is now not in the post, and I won't be applying for a strategy job at Alfa Romeo. I think she's got it covered.
They've gone on the radio to Valtteri Bottas saying use the tyres. They've told him basically he's got a free stop, hasn't he, between him and Gasly. All they're interested in is getting him ahead of Max. For when Max pits next. Max's tyres are 11 laps older than Bottas'. So we're going to assume, a safe assumption, he's going to earlier, and that's all they're trying to do. But a quick shout out to same pace as Daniel Ricciardo.
And we've got a yellow flag and a double yellow flag being waved in the first part of the lap, and it's for Sebastian Vettel, is it? As he had a bit of a spin going through turn 3, certainly going very slow as we pick him up with Nicholas Latifi, who's now ahead of him in 16th place. So I rather get the feeling we had a Vettel spinner at turn 3, but no damage I can see to the car. It looks like he's avoided the barriers, which is good news.
And surprising in turn 3. Here we go. Oh, he's gone for the inside, lost the rear. But was able to point to that. Oh, that's that Bottas.
That was
just
Bottas.
missed him.
Well, that's going to take a bit of time off Valtteri Bottas's charge towards Verstappen and Hamilton.
And a couple of years of his life.
He lost about 1.5 seconds, 1.5 seconds in that first sector because he was the car having to take evasive action. Where do you go? Where do you go? Normally you just head straight to the scene of where the car is, but Vettel was stopping a bit slower than you'd normally see.
Well, and then it rolled down, which was nice for Valtteri to get around the outside. But yeah, that 1.5 seconds could be crucial at the end of this race.
It certainly could. Everything is in the balance here. It's Max Verstappen that leads. We're on lap 38 out of 72. We have passed half race distance. I think there's a lot to come, and it's about tyres. As it often is, Jensen, but he who looks after their tyres best will reap the reward.
I was just about to say that about Fernando Alonso and Ocon.
Okay, everything we've got for the next 4 or 5 laps, please, Max.
You know what they need? They need a Jensen Button out there.
I think he's going to pit in the next 4 or 5 laps. What do you think?
I think it's very possible, Karoo.
Yes, I think they're now thinking about bringing this next round stop in early, because actually the gap between Hamilton and Verstappen, 2.6. It's not an impossible gap for an undercut. They can put pressure if they make a fast pit stop. Both cars, I think, are thinking about their second stops early. To cover off an undercut.
I just saw a Red Bull behind a Mercedes then, but it was Checo.
Yeah, this is not the overtake for the lead in any way, shape or form. That's Hamilton getting past Sergio Perez. Sergio is way down the field at the moment. Sadly, he's down in 8th place actually, but he is a lap down in this race. Might still score points from that 8th place, but I would expect him to be stopping again because he did come in rather early after flat spotting those tyres, the hard compound tyres that he was hoping to run for a lot longer. So you pit Max Verstappen first if you're Red Bull.
Keep this pace up, Max. This is mega. Got track position over Bottas as well.
And he's 3 seconds clear of Hamilton now, is extending that advantage out in front. As Mercedes now respond by doing an early pit stop of their own. So Red Bull were thinking about it, and now before that gap gets too long, Mercedes have said we've got to get Hamilton in, and they're going to use that extra set of medium tyres that they've got over Red Bull. Red Bull haven't got another set of mediums to put on. So Hamilton, they found a gap to him, or they hope they found a gap to him, as Ricciardo now comes through so now Hamilton's going to have to pick his way through traffic here as he comes out side by side with Lance Stroll, who backs off because he's been lapped.
You've had great pace, great pace. Keep pushing.
But I think they felt they'd get him out ahead of Ricciardo there, and he wouldn't have to fight his way through the back markers.
I don't think they thought they'd get him out in front of Ricciardo, but they had to give it a go because Max will pit when he clears Ricciardo. And he's 2 seconds in front of Lewis, so they had to give it a go.
Why would you pit me with these guys, man?
Yeah, the thing is, Max could pick now, and he's clear of Ricciardo because he's got that pace advantage. Well, they've rolled the dice again at Mercedes, and it's not quite worked for them. But Max Verstappen, as I mentioned, hasn't got a set of medium tyres to put on, so it's a set of hard tyres that are going on. Now, more durability, obviously with a hard compound tyre, but you normally associate a pace difference, mediums to hards.
Yeah, we saw Checo struggling on that tyre, locking up into turn one. Massive flat spot, so it's not an easy tyre to get temperature into it, but he does have a good gap on Lewis, but they should have told Lewis already what they were doing, and so he could relax, and he knew he had to get past those cars. It was going to cost him a bit of time, but it was an opportunity.
So the next few laps don't go anywhere just yet, because this could get quite interesting. New hards for Max Verstappen, used mediums for Lewis Hamilton, what proved to be the fastest tyre, and has not keeping another set of mediums for this race. That works to Mercedes' advantage. Scrub set of mediums, I'm told, so they've not been used very much.
So there's Lewis's first sector on this set of tyres. He's gone purple, the best first sector of anyone in the race. And, just about to come through the second sector, which I'm sure will also be purple.
We shall see. It is for Verstappen, 25-1. He's getting cheers from the grandstand every time he goes through there. Hamilton does look to be a bit closer, but still with work to do to try and gain ground. Valtteri Bottas runs in third, 5 seconds now behind Hamilton after the front two pitted for a second time. Gasly in fourth, then comes Leclerc and Sainz on the hards.
Did the hard tyre look good for other people?
Looks like a reasonable tyre on the Ferrari, yeah.
And they will have got data from Leclerc and Sainz looking at their lap times and making sure that it's still a decent tyre for Max to be on. Fastest lap of the race for Lewis Hamilton is 3.1 seconds behind at the end of lap 41. We've got another 31 to go, and Ted, down to you.
You can understand why Verstappen's asking that, because historically it hasn't been a great tyre for Red Bull. They do prefer the softer tyres, and this is the hardest of all the tyres that Pirelli bring here, this white-walled hard tyre. So I can understand Max is a bit concerned. Yes, it will easily get him to lap 72. Max can have to do a bit more work to make this one work. But this decision, as far as Mercedes was concerned, was made ages ago when they actually decided which tyres to ditch at the end of sessions, Crofty, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Those two mediums to carry on into the race.
Yeah, they love that medium tyre. Could yet pay off. Let's pay tribute to Lando Norris, who on lap 42 is still running on the set of medium tyres he started this race on.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job. Tough day for him yesterday. He's normally really good in qualifying, and it's the first time this year he hasn't been in Q3, so he's fighting his way through and hasn't pitted yet, so it's going to be interesting to see how many more laps he can go for.
Well, they're hoping now, maybe for a safety car, cut down that pit lane loss. Get Lando in and out and up to an unlikely points finish.
He's actually on the same strategy as Perez, who's behind him. So those two are on similar strategies, because Perez put it really early in the race because of the flat spot on his hard.
Yeah, Perez probably got about 5 laps in hand in terms of the tyre usage on Lando Norris as we ride on board with Lance Stroll. The car in front of him is George Russell. Don't forget, George Russell has a 5-second penalty to be added to his race time, or to his next pit stop. 8 laps. I'm being told fresher tyres for Sergio Perez over Lando Norris, which lies 1.2 second gap between the two of them at the moment. Showing how well Lando is driving, if he can maintain that before he really does have to come in into the pits. Has Lance Stroll got a pace advantage in his battle with George Russell? We shall see as they go to turn one as Lando Norris comes into the pits. And Nikita Mazepin also into the pits for Mazepin. This will be his last venture into the pits in this race, and he's been retired from this race. He was running down in 19th place.
Don't see them here around it. For the blow. Too soon, man.
No. Well, at the moment, 0.4 of a second on the last lap, Lewis Hamilton was slower than Max Verstappen, as we see that. Lando Norris pitting, coming back out in 11th and ahead of George Russell. Back to Korea.
Yeah, further to that radio message, Rossi, Lewis also saying he's not happy with his tyre choice. He thinks there's too many laps to be going on this tyre against the hard tyre of Max Verstappen. I think essentially he's saying we should have also gone on the hard tyre. Allow me a second. That is the McLaren against George Russell. That is Norris on a fresh set of tyre. That was important for Norris, because he's now come out right behind Ricciardo.
Yeah, and I think Daniel Ricciardo there rather helped matters, because he was the car in front of George Russell, and it might just slow down enough to allow Norris to come through. Right. On board with George Russell. There's a lot of action around this track at the moment, albeit not much overtaking.
Long way to go on this tyre, man.
Yeah, copy that, Lewis. We will be monitoring it.
Yeah, as soon as Max pumped in super fast laps on the first 2 laps of this hard tyre, you immediately know the hard tyre works, and it's probably the tyre to be on when you've got 30 odd laps to go.
I'm just about to call Lewis Hamilton's bluff and go, yeah, it might be a long way to go with this tyre, it might not be the right choice, but you've just taken about 0.8 of a second out of Max's advantage. However, I think Max has just had to get past Alonso and Ocon and Lando.
Yeah, Lewis is really good in looking up the tyres. It's something he's definitely learned over the years, and you know, if he's put in a sticky spot, he'll still get the best out of that tyre. So it's definitely not over yet, and traffic is obviously playing a big part right now.
Taking any credit for that at all from your years as teammates?
No, can't even remember being in F1. It was that long ago.
It wasn't real. I know we kid you about it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Pierre Gasly is in 4th place. And running a lonely race for Pierre Gasly, he won't care a dot, because it's another strong race for Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, Pierre, I mean, he's just been on it all year, hasn't he? He's always got the best out of the car in qualifying, bringing in a big haul of points in a lot of races. So yeah, a great job by him. We haven't really talked about him too much because he's just been out there on his own. 7 seconds in front of the 2 Ferraris.
There's still so much life left on that last tyre. I don't know why you rushed it.
Yeah, copy, Lewis. We'll chat about it later.
He won't know the overview. Is this common for drivers that you think, no, that was the wrong choice, I just need to tell the team now you made a mistake?
Well, you run through every strategy before the race, but there are sometimes things that you're not quite happy with, but I understand what they were trying to do, because the car in front always has an advantage when it comes to pit stops and laps. Because you know the gap that you have to that car when you're pitting. He's come out just in front of Ricciardo, whereas Lewis was never going to, so they had to take the risk of putting him into the traffic, hoping he would overtake those cars quickly, and that would make the difference.
And now Lewis got past the Alpines to lap them. That gap between Verstappen and Hamilton back up to 3.5 seconds.
I have a plastic bag in my front left brake. Have a look.
I'm sure he has now.
It's like paper more than plastic.
Yeah, if he's got bits of the plastic bag still in that brake, he hasn't got as much as he initially had because it seemed to have shredded a bit. The upshot is, please don't bring plastic bags to a Formula 1 racetrack because sustainability, environment and all that. Right, Verstappen from Hamilton, Bottas from Gasly, Leclerc, Perez, Alonso, Ocon and now Norris ahead of Daniel Ricciardo.
They've switched them.
Yes. So is that team orders?
Well, if he overtook him on the straight, it was made easy by Daniel, yes, because Daniel doesn't give up places easily.
Or was it just I've got much fresher tyres there? I can get past. I can get past quite easily.
So Lando thanked the team. So yes, it's team orders. Interestingly, you have the two Ferraris driving around quite a similar pace. You've got two Alpines and the two McLarens. The Alpines are really interesting. I've watched them all the way through the race, and Esteban Ocon was complaining at the beginning of the race that Fernando isn't quick enough, basically let me by, and then Fernando caught about a 6-second gap. They pitted. Esteban is right behind Fernando again, and I'm sure saying the same thing, but it's just very different how they're going about this race. Fernando's really looking after the tyres, not pushing at the beginning, and he's stronger at the end. Ocon doing the opposite. It's great to see and feel the different views from these drivers of how this race should be run.
McLaren have certainly got their strategy right in terms of Lando Norris here, though, because he's jumped up into the points. And by going very, very long with that first stint, there's done himself a huge amount of favours. He will have much fresher tyres than anyone else in the latter stages of this race, and is showing that at the moment. So how do Alpine, I wonder, respond with that? If Ocon keeps saying I'm the faster car, do they need Ocon ahead of Alonso to actually try and pull Alonso a bit further clear of Lando? Norris behind.
I'm not going to make it to the end on these tyres.
If and when Fernando Alonso gets that much closer. Lewis Hamilton is going through a bit of agony at the moment. And we've heard this before, but then kind of drives through the pain a little bit, and suddenly everything's okay again. One thing is for sure, he's not making a dent in that advantage that Verstappen's got.
No, and the problem is he's come out onto the track and he's seen that Max can make that hard tyre work as well. So, you know, I do love it that we have drivers that are emotional and they're letting us know their feelings, or not letting us know, but letting the team know their feelings, and we get to hear it. It must be tough for Lewis in that position.
Perez pits, and that frees Alonso and Ocon. Norris behind them eventually. Let's see what this pit stop is like for Sergio Perez. Comes 2.5 seconds. We are seeing slower pit stops with this new directive by just a few tenths. And now he can go to the end of the race and should come out about 11th place. But here's the battle between George Russell and Lance Stroll. And is Perez going to be in the middle of that? He is going to be right in the middle of that. So Russell ahead of Perez was obviously told to put the hammer down by the Williams team. They could see what Red Bull were up to, and it's kept 11th place. Then for George Russell, Perez has got some overtaking to do. Ted, down to you.
Of course, Hamilton doesn't have any choice. What are the team going to say? Well, Lewis, we can't pit again. What are we going to do? Drop behind Valtteri Bottas? So he just has to stay with it. Maybe be the only chance if Hamilton really wants a new set of tyres, is to wait and see if there's a safety car, I suppose. But then Verstappen will pit again as well to cover him. So there's no option, is there, Crofty? Hamilton would know that, so I don't really know what he hopes to say. Sorry, go on.
So if you've not got a timing screen down with you, I'm going to ask you a question at the moment, but first and foremost, Sergio Perez, for the third time this afternoon, is making an overtake down the chicane, and it's another successful one. George Russell down at 12, Perez up to 11. You've not got a timing screen. Guess who just set the fastest lap of the race, Ted?
Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Sunday wouldn't be Sunday, and if you're playing your Sunday Sky F1 race bingo, sorry Martin Trundle's not here to do your various catchphrases. He'll be back at Monza. But yeah, Lewis complaining about his tyres when they're only 8 laps old. But anyway,
setting a fastest lap.
Yes, for the full.
You
talk about the Alpines we're watching now. What it's meant is that Leclerc and Sainz have been given a bit of an unchallenged race, haven't they? The Ferraris haven't been challenged by the Alpines behind them. They can't get close to Gasly, so that's stayed static.
2 seconds, Ted.
Oh,
And we need to retire, stop in front of the garage.
Well, it started off badly this weekend, didn't it, Crofty? The first one to spin in FP1, and it's ended badly. We'll hope for a better race for him at home. In Monza next time. But yeah, Lando Norris has just got to getting closer and closer to Ocon. Bit by bit.
Yes, first to spin, second to retire after Nikita Mazepin with hydraulic issues. This is his teammate Mick Schumacher. You know, they don't want to do that too often into the chicane, kicking up a bit of dust and bringing some gravel onto the track as well. Karun, let's head to you.
Yeah, just looking at the gaps and listening to the radio here, Bottas' pace is just nowhere compared to the top two. Hamilton's playing an interesting game here, isn't he? I mean, on one hand, we have to think about Norris did 42 laps. But could Mercedes do a 3-stop with Lewis? I mean, is that what they're looking at? There's a big enough gap between Hamilton and Gasly, so he'll only drop behind Bottas. Could they really be thinking of a 3-stop?
And hoping for a safety car, because are there enough laps for Lewis to charge down?
They're just so fast, man.
What would be a 25-second gap if you did pit again?
Yeah, I mean, he says they're so fast, but Lewis has been quicker the last couple of laps, so I guess they are giving it their all. You know, he doesn't look like he's taking it easy out there, and to pump him the fastest lap of the race, and now he's just in a purple sector on this lap. You'd think that they are thinking possibly about a 3-stop. When was the last time we had a 3-stop in Formula 1?
There's a very good question. I will find a 3-stop to win a race.
Yes.
Right, I'll find it out for you in a moment. We are looking into it right now. Bottas goes past Fernando Alonso. That's not the position that is lapping. The gap now 2.5 seconds between Verstappen and Hamilton. He thinks Red Bull are fast. I think this race is fast. It's not long enough to learn.
Killing my tyres, trying to keep up.
Okay, copy. Stand by.
I mean, if they did do a 3-stop, and he will have a massive pace advantage if he can put the soft tyres on. I don't know how old his best set of soft tyres are, but it's 0. Three laps old. I think he'll have great pace on that tyre at the end of this race when the circuit's gripped up, low fuel. So there's every opportunity with the 3-stop he could still challenge Max.
What's Perez doing at the moment? Of course, he's on the soft tyres. A 1:13.5 on his last lap. Sergio Perez will be going quicker on this particular lap. It has to be said, though, that these mediums are working quite nicely for Hamilton at the moment, and he is closing that gap. But there's always that half suspicion that Verstappen is just just monitoring the situation.
Yeah, maybe he's not. Lewis has found he's been very consistent with his lap times and putting in some great sectors. So maybe it's just working for him now, the tyre. Maybe the degradation will be okay. As you said, Karun, Lando did 42 laps on a medium tyre. Lewis only has to do 36, and the circuit is in much better condition than it was at the start of the race for Lewis.
And the car lighter as well. Dutch Grand Prix here at Zandvoort. We've waited a long time, and it's giving us a fast and frenetic race. Strategic battles and headaches on the pit wall throughout the 53 laps. But it's Verstappen, Hamilton and Bottas the 1, 2, 3, as it was off the grid. Gasly, Leclerc and Sainz started 4th, 5th and 6th as well.
Up to Perez, 1 second. Let's try and hold him up. Yeah, let's go, Daniel. Let's go. You're going to hold Perez up here.
That will really help your teammate if you can.
Yeah, there's a lot of teamwork going on here, which is nice to see. Tough for the driver that's giving it, though. But Norris, the last lap, he took a second out of Ocon in front of him. He's only 3.3 seconds behind. He is coming for the Alpines.
I just want it, if Ocon is the faster car of the two Alpines, if they can find a way to let him pass down the straight without slowing Alonso down, and then maybe use some DRS for Alonso to keep him with Ocon, then it cuts off the threat of faster cars behind for a bit longer.
I think they've just got to hurry up. Fernando's just done his quickest lap of the race at 14.9, half a second up on Ocon. So it's time to switch it on. He knows that Norris is coming.
So Alonso and Ocon 7th and 8th at the moment. Fernando Alonso starting this race in 9th. Ocon starting 8th where he currently remains. Lando Norris started this race 13th after missing out on Q3 and is in the points. His teammate Daniel Ricciardo started 10th, continues to be 10th, and Sergio Perez started from the pit lane and is desperate for some points here. This is the sight from on board with Sergio Perez. This is orange everywhere you look here this weekend, and for him at the moment it's papaya orange.
It is. Lewis is 1.4 behind Max, so close to the 1 second needed to beat the DRS.
Okay, this updated priority now, so we'll try and get to the end of the race on these tyres, take something at the end for the fastest lap.
Don't race. I'm pushing to close this gap. Come on.
Okay, copy that, Lewis. Yeah, we're happy with what you're doing then, so let's just crack on.
Slow down. I don't want to slow down. Racing. Okay, don't slow down. Is that the translation?
I love that. All this strategy. Actually, I'm going to drive fast. Well, actually, yeah, you should drive fast. Because you're doing a great job, Lewis.
Because what Pete Bonington's got is a lot of people in his ears monitoring sensors on the tyres, telling him information that actually might be an idea to try and slow the driver down a bit. Sergio Perez has got past Daniel Ricciardo. He is 10th. Ricciardo didn't hold him up for too much longer. Quickly down.
It was an absolute absolutely very funny and shameless, quite shameless message to Ricardo saying, right, Perez is behind us, we're going to hold him up. Daniel, you are going to hold Perez up. So hold him up, okay? Hold him up. Maybe all's fair and love in Formula One.
Absolutely. Hamilton has DRS down the main straight to try and get past Robert Kubica and lapping Robert Kubica. Goes down the inside and has now cleared yet another back marker. Markers could play a part in this, and Verstappen has got Mick Schumacher, Giovinazzi and Latifi not too far ahead of him. He'll be lapping those in about a lap and a half time.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm straight back on this back.
Yeah,
but it's so nice to hear the engineers. They have all the information and they've done all the simulations. But Lewis wants to race, and that's what's great. And I think that's why we're loving this battle between Max and Lewis all the way through this year.
And this is Daniel Ricciardo being told to hold up Sergio Perez, but hold on, it's not easy.
Who's next?
He's got his mojo back today, isn't he? Fantastic. Right, you asked the question last, and I'm not sure how relevant this is to this race now, but the last three stopper to win a race, Lewis Hamilton at Hungary in 2020, but he started on intermediates, so no, that's not really the right answer, so I'll give you another answer. Max Verstappen from Brazil 2019. Ahead of him, and he looks an awful lot closer to Sergio Perez than we've seen him for a while. You're absolutely right. Alonso is catching Carlos Sainz for the Spanish all-Spanish battle at the end of this race, but Perez is also catching Lando Norris. So how does Lando Norris defend this one?
Well, Lando's on the hard tyre, Checo Perez is on the soft, so very, very different tyres. You can see the different lines that they're able to take through there. It's great to see. But no, this is a tricky one. I mean, if Checo can get close through these few corners, he's going to pick up that DRS. It should be a reasonably easy move down into turn one. I would guess the outside if he is able to get that close.
Sebastian Vettel over. Takes Antonio Giovinazzi into turn one. Lando Norris has slipped from third place in the championship in this race, and Valtteri Bottas will take over the third place spot because he's running third in this race. Alonso now very, very close to Carlos Sainz, and I dare say when they come into turn one at the end of this lap, turn three at the moment, we might just see an overtake move, but into turn three we go with this battle. McLaren ahead of Red Bull, and McLaren will be desperate for any points they can get in this race at the moment because Ferrari having an absolute stormer, and they started this race, Ferrari only 3.5 points behind McLaren in the championship, so they can take a big advantage going to their home race in Italy in a week's time. McLaren just desperate for as many points as they can finally muster after a poor qualifying yesterday. That's how Fernando Alonso has gained on Carlos Sainz in the last few laps, and with your own eyes you can see how Sergio Perez is trying to hunt down Lando Norris. So which battle do you want to pick, Jensen? We can't talk over each other. Which one's going to have a swap of places first?
Well, it's like they're driving completely different cars than Sainz. 30 seconds. And Sainz has had a couple of really sort of 1.5, 2 seconds off the pace. So I don't know if he's got a problem that he's trying to control. But it doesn't look like it's an easy car to drive.
But you know what? Another 100 metres of straight there, and he might have been under a bit more pressure, but Fernando Alonso's going to still try and stick it out of turn 1. Who knows where Fernando Alonso is going to pick an overtake move as Sainz goes up high on the banking at turn 3 and Alonso follows in. Let's concentrate on this battle.
Yeah, I mean, what a lovely feeling when you're closing someone down like this and you're 1.5 seconds quicker. But now it's tricky. He's within a second and you pick up a lot more understeer in the car, especially in the high-speed corners. The rear will be a bit lighter on exits as well. But if there is a millimetre that Fernando can slip through, he will find a way. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle, this one, until the end. It's great with the different strategies that are playing out with different tyres and 2-stop, 1-stop, pitting on different laps, and it gives this really exciting racing now.
He'll have done a lot of smiling for Fernando Alonso this weekend because he knows what this sort of fandom is like. Formula 1.
Oh, couple of bits of contact there.
Tell you what, I wanted to see that replay run on a bit more because I think there was a harder hit, wasn't there? As we cut away to this particular shot, we might just see it again. There's Lando Norris trying to push in wide, and that was wheel to wheel. They're robust if you hit them in the right places, these cars.
Yeah, that was a big lift of the tyre and suspension. You can hear the wheel spin.
Did Norris think he still had the right to that corner and it was fair to run Perez out?
It's a really tricky one. I mean, it looked like Perez was also, he could have run a bit wider. It's one of those, that move that's a racing incident for me.
Yeah, I don't expect the stewards to take any action whatsoever. You know, I said quite a while ago, Jensen, that the top 3 here have got a huge amount of pace.
Okay, Valtteri, so box.
And they're in a different league to everyone else. Well, Pierre Gasly's just been lapped. Pierre Gasly's running 4th at the moment. Only the top 3 will finish this race on the lead lap.
This is a surprise because they're pitting him for a new set of tyres. He's going to go out, he's going to be super quick. He's going to set the fastest lap of the race, which takes it away from Lewis. Or they're expecting that Max will have a go on the last lap. Who knows?
We shall see. Ted, down to you.
No explanation for what that hold was. That was very, very odd. He passes me here, it all looked clear. Maybe it's the pit stop traffic light system has had a bit of a sort of weird moment, but that looked really odd. I can only assume, Jensen, to answer your question, they're going to pit Lewis the next lap round. And put him on the soft tire.
It's a tricky one to do, isn't it? When you're 2.9 seconds or 3.3 seconds behind the leader, if Max makes a mistake, he's through. So you're going to throw that away to surprising.
Yeah,
So on the soft, we're going to +1. We're not going for fast.
Why not?
So Lewis will have a free stop at the end.
Well, that's team orders. That's we're going to protect second for Lewis, third for you. This was the slow stop for Valtteri Bottas.
Valtteri, it's James. Please abort the fastest lap attempt for the end of the lap.
Right, so he's gone purple. Fastest first sector, fastest middle sector for Valtteri Bottas. And he might just be slowing down a bit as he crosses the line. He did slow down. He did abort the fastest lap attempt. He's still got the fastest lap though. Oh no! He was 0.8 of a second quicker in the final sector than the previous best final sector. He did slow down because I was watching the mini sectors, but he's still got quickest. So Lewis is now going to have to come in. To get that fastest lap point back, but Jensen, it does seem an unnecessary kerfuffle, this.
Yeah, I need that extra point, guys.
Copy, we're on it. Okay, Lewis, box.
It's an extra point, but as I said, it's a big risk if Max has an issue. You know, if he locked up, ran wide, he would have been through if he went through the gravel. So it's a tricky one, and it's something that's new to Formula 1 since we've got a point for fastest lap. Obviously, yeah. I never had this when I was racing.
Exactly. The pressure's on because there is that extra point up for grabs. But imagine what happens now. Max Verstappen makes a small error now. Mercedes think they've thrown away the race win, but they've also caused a little bit of friction within the team itself. Ted, down to you.
George Russell has had a problem and has had to pit and serve that 5-second penalty.
Thank you, Ted. So Lance Stroll has gone ahead of him. Sebastian Vettel behind George Russell and very close to George Russell as well, as the party is beginning to get underway in proper earnest. The Dutch fans have been in festival mood throughout this weekend. They celebrated after he got the pole position yesterday. They are ready to do the proper celebrations throughout this final lap. And after the checkered flag is out, the reason we're here is Max Verstappen, Jensen Button, and he has absolutely delivered for the faithful this weekend.
He has, but he hasn't had it all his own way, which is what we love. You know, Lewis has pushed him the whole way, and I think the fans love that. That there's this fight for Max. He hasn't just got it easy. It's not a walk in the park. It's tough, and he's racing against the best guy in the world, one of the best guys in the world, Lewis Hamilton. Seven-time world champion, but it looks like he's going to finish this race in first position, and I cannot wait for what this crowd is going to do.
Stand by for the celebrations on this one. Born in Hasselt in Belgium, but he went to school in Holland. His father Jos, obviously Dutch as well, and he said from an early age I feel more Dutch. I was raised as a Dutchman, and when he had the chance to choose his nationality, he said I want to be a Dutchman. So last weekend he won at Spa in the country of his birth. This weekend in Holland he is going to win as a Dutch driver, a Dutch national. And it is double Dutch delight for Max Verstappen, who crosses the line to win the Dutch Grand Prix. Tiesto waves the flag, turn up to the max. Listen to that roar!
Wow, fantastic, isn't it? What an atmosphere. And, you know, if you're here and you're watching and you don't support Max, it doesn't matter. This is such an amazing atmosphere. This is
the crucial thing for Hamilton is can he get the fastest lap of the race on the last lap of the race, and he does. So he wins that extra point for the fastest lap on a day where he and Mercedes were second best to Max Verstappen and Red Bull. Valtteri Bottas will come home third, and the podium once again will